morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge, and have we got some exciting transfer news for you this morning around left backs. We'll be talking about Gutierrez from Girona and a couple of others as well. This is updates from Fabrizio Romano. Keep your eye on Mason Greenwood this morning, and today we could get some finality on what's happening with that deal. Also, Yoro, De Ligt, bids for Scott McTominay. What is the latest around the midfield situation, and a lot more. Also, Manchester United back in action today. We're excited about that. Watch along at 5 o'clock. Pre-season game. Watching some of the youth players, seeing who could be breaking through this season, and some familiar old faces. Marcus Rashford, Mason Mount. Big season for him. So lots to get into today, of course. But it would remiss of me, before I start talking about transfers, let's just acknowledge the contrast of two Manchester United players last night. Kobbie Mainoo, obviously England heartache. Lisandro Martinez, a massive part of that Argentinian side, winning the Copa America for the second time in a row, 3 tournaments in a row, and of course World Cup winners only 18 months ago. The confidence that Martinez must have at the moment. We must keep this guy fit. Give him a month off if we need to, but seriously, that first game against Fulham, we need Martinez fit with another good centre-back with him, which we're talking about the latest about Yoro and De Ligt in a moment. As for Kobbie Mainoo, I really, I feel for him. That picture of him stood next to the post at the end, I don't think he should have been taken off. I think he struggled last night in a system that Southgate made England suffer in. But look, he's had an amazing season. It would have been amazing to cap it off with a win, but he just needs to go off, have a break. And sometimes these sort of setbacks can actually make you mentally stronger as well. What would I say about England? Well, we're here to talk about the United Stand, but I think where it does have parallels with Manchester United, and you can take from this what you want. Leopards don't change their spots very often in football, whether it's managers, whether it's players, they don't. And I saw England again all through that tournament. I was worried. I said that we've got problems, and we sort of buried them like a catch buries a shit, and eventually the stink came through. We were rubbish throughout the whole tournament. The tactics were rubbish. The selections were rubbish. And some of the players did what they did 3 years ago. And I just worry with Man United and Ineos that they shouldn't be wasting time on players we already pretty much know the story about. They don't change their spots very, very rarely. They might give you 6 months of playing well and everyone will say they're back, and then they'll go bad again. So I think there's a number of lessons that we've already learned at Manchester United that Ineos really should be making decisions on now, and not going, let's have another try. But look, we'll see. The reason I wanted to start with that is because I think it's very relevant to a news story coming out last night from Galatasaray and Turkish reports that they're negotiating a fee with Scott McTominay. Now, we've always had pretty good connections around West Ham. They've got some very good outlets. I think it's Claret and Hugh, and there's another one which the name escapes me, who are very good around West Ham news. What they've been reporting the last couple of days is that West Ham basically still want Scott McTominay. They're getting a bit of mixed messages around £40 million asking price, and Man United not wanting to sell him. Now, remember at the end of February, I said, we're not going to sell Bruno, Rashford and McTominay. That's what I got told at the end of February. This is way before Ashworth, Barada, Wilcox. This is way before a decision was made on Ten Hag. And I said at the time, it's incredible to me that we've not decided whether we're keeping the manager, we've not decided who the who recruitment team's going to be, but somebody at that football club has already said that Bruno, Rashford and McTominay are not for sale. Who is that then? Is that Joel Glazer? Is it Sir Jim? So we are yet to see if there is any truth in that. But there is no doubt that there is interest in Scott McTominay. And I say, just do it. I mean, we just spoke about England there, and Leopards don't change their spots. We've had 7 years of Scott McTominay. 7 years. He started under Mourinho. We know what this player is. He certainly would be an asset for a West Ham and Everton or whatever, but he is not and never will be, just like England are not and never will be trophy winners under Southgate. Scott McTominay is never going to be a starter or a major impact on a team that's going to challenge for the Premier League. So we can keep pretending that, you know, he's a good lad to have around and, you know, he's a nice lad. And yeah, he is. But there is money there that we need to help our club go to the next level. There is offers there. And we're sort of going, yeah, we like, if you don't want to go, we'll keep you. This is what I mean about ruthlessness. You've got to call him into the office and say, look, really nice guy. It's great what you've done. But, you know, Phil Neville did this. Nicky Butt did this. They hit their sort of late 20s and they went to play football because there wasn't a place for them to play first team football regularly. And we can't offer you that. So we're going to accept the bids from Galatasaray and West Ham, and we would implore you to go and talk to them. And if you're going to sit here and say you're not leaving, well, I'm telling you now, we've accepted the bids. So, you know, read into that what you want. If you want it more blunt, you can stay, but your opportunities will be limited because we're looking to move on. We've got other players coming through. You came through 7 years ago. We've got other players who are going to come through now. And we've also got players that we believe are better than you that we've brought in. So there is no pathway to the first team for you anymore. Go with our good wishes. So I think that is effectively where I would look at. Sammy, can you just go out and touch grass, please? Because we've just started the show and there's loads of news and I can't be bothered with people like you this morning. So let's look at that. West Ham, Galatasaray, but apparently Man United still asking for 40 million, which we laughed at last season. We laughed at it last season. What would you say is a fair price for Scott McTominay? I personally would take 25. It's pure profits. I'd take 25 million. If we can get 30 million, happy days. I don't know where 40 million comes from. I don't understand that. Look, if we can get 40 million, fine. I'd take 25. It's pure profit and it will help us do other deals. So, look, I would love it if we sold Scott McTominay. I genuinely think it's a good deal for him. I genuinely think it's a good deal for the buying club. And I genuinely think it's a good deal for us to get that profit into the football club and utilise it. But I genuinely don't think we will do it because he just seems to me a little bit like a player that's just going to stay around forever. And we've got a few players like that just seem to stay around, that clearly aren't first team quality, but just hang around the club, and the club don't get ruthless about it. And I don't really understand why, but I think he'll end up staying because that's what I was told at the end of February. Carlos says he'd take 30 million. Why is nobody talking about Xerxes 180k a week? You will say that I cannot know that, but quick online research and you find it out for yourself, says Cheer. And full focus on United now. Let's go, Goldbridge, says Gaz. Is there any truth in this 180k a week? I thought he was going to be on 90k a week. Locke says, gutted for Manu and Shaw, even though I wanted Spain to win, but the Ineos future looks bright under Ten Hag with new signings. Jamie Carragher says, when England don't play well, it's on the players, but when it's United, it has to be Ten Hag's tactics. Make sense, says Ethan. Oh, mate. Don't look. I don't want to talk about that because there's loads to talk about transfer-wise, but look, we know this. We know the story with the mainstream. Cowards. Absolute cowards, full of agenda. If you've got a British passport, you're safe. If you haven't, it's all guns blazing. And we've mentioned this for so many years on this channel about players that are British that get protected and foreign Man United players that don't. Foreign managers and Man United don't get protected. British ones do, or mates like Solskjaer. Everybody knows what it is. It's just contradictory bullshit, and they're probably 10 pints deep when they're doing it as well. Absolute nonsense. Is every manager he's ever had wrong then, says Robert McCormack. Who are we talking about? Oh, Scott McTominay. Mate, Robert, we can flirt if you want. We can play little games about, stats. If you want to tell me that Scott McTominay is a player that starts for Man United and wins the Premier League, I'm waiting. We can play games about stats and whether he's good enough or whether managers like him. I agree with you. Every manager that Man United have had seems to be obsessed with McTominay in some way, shape or form. Probably because he's a nice lad who works hard, but that don't win you that's not going to win you titles, mate. I'm intrigued by this Xerxes wage because I don't want to be a hypocrite here. And if he's on 180 grand a week, then I would say that is an absolute joke. But I've not seen anybody confirm what his wages are, and those wages were always meant to be £90,000 a week. So effectively, I can't really comment on that at the moment. But if he's on 180 grand a week, then we've been mugged off there big time, and I'd be very surprised. I think it'll be 100. And I tell you what, I think if we gave 180 grand a week to Xerxes, then I think there'd be a few people knocking on the door like Rasmus, who's on half that, so and a few others. So I doubt very much we've given him 180 grand a week. Really, I don't. Let's move on. Very exciting news around the left back, by the way. Update from Fabrizio Romano is that the left back that Manchester United are monitoring the most at the moment appears to be Gutierrez of Girona. And he also gave an update that with Kerkez, he is on Manchester United's radar, but that's the more difficult deal to do because Bournemouth are looking to keep him for another year and will want £35 million. Now, this is great news to me because I think the best left back that we can buy is Gutierrez from Girona. I think he is the best left back available out there at the moment. So if he is the one that we're most likely to move on, and now let me be fair, Fabrizio didn't say any bids have gone in yet with Girona, but we know that we've had conversations with Girona because Donny van der Beek. They've also got that Zigankov, who we spoke about yesterday, the winger. So much like PSG, we know that contacts have been made with Girona and that can develop. Now, the interesting thing about Gutierrez is that he is and has and does have a release clause. Now, the release clause, again, could be problematic because people get excited about release clauses, but you do have to pay them up front, which is why we didn't play Xerxes full. We paid a little bit more so that we could spread it out over 3 years. But there is a little bit of confusion around what Gutierrez release clause is. I believe it's just below £30 million. It might even be 25 million. Some people have got it as 40 million euros. Some people have got it as 35 million euros. And some people have got it as 30 million euros. But the bottom line is, if you did go and buy somebody like Gutierrez, the only issue you would have is his ability to adapt to the Premier League, because he looks like being one of the very, very interesting profiles of left back in Europe over the next few years. He obviously went to Girona. I think Real Madrid retained some sort of 50% sell-on clause, so he's from Real Madrid to Girona. But look, we've got to bring a left back in. And look, Suham, exactly what I was going to say there. One of our members, Suham, has just said there that Shaw played well yesterday. Yeah, and look, I know some people, God, this morning, it's just so frustrating listening to the radio or putting the TV on and listening to people who know nothing about football saying that England were unlucky. It's just like, go back to whatever you were doing before the Euros and just piss off. You know anything about football, you pretend you do for the Euros, and now you're telling us that we're unlucky because you know nothing. You're like bloody Jon Snow, piss off. But in relation to the left-back situation, Luke Shaw, I've always been a big fan of Luke Shaw. I think Luke Shaw is one of the best left-backs in Europe and therefore in the world when he's fit. And he played well last night. But that isn't breaking news. That's slow sports news, because Luke Shaw's problem is not playing well. That's never been something that I look at Luke Shaw and go, oh, is he good enough? I know he's bloody good enough. When he's fit, you're laughing. And he can play left centre-back as well. But how fit's Luke Shaw going to be? I mean, you hope now he's going to go on holiday and be back for the start of the season. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's had a load of pain-killing injections to be fit for that final, and then he's going to pick up another injury in the next couple of weeks. You just do not know. The modern footballer and what they do to play certain games ain't rocket science. Like, you can take painkillers, you can have injections, legally you can do all that. We don't know the situation of Luke Shaw. And also, even if he is fitter than he's ever been, his body will break down because he's like, I wouldn't say he's Reece James, because Reece James has had it all through his youth, but Luke Shaw's a problem. And Nizam says, don't forget Malacia. Well, I will forget Malacia. This is a guy that's not been fit for over 12 months. Tell me a footballer that's not been fit for over 12 months in the modern game. You won't be able to give me 5. You're talking about Lavia at Chelsea, maybe. Fofana at Chelsea, maybe. Look, you missed 12 months of football in your early 20s. You'll have a problem getting back to anything like you were before, ever again. You will. Because your body has got a big problem somewhere. And if you can't play football for 12 months, your body is going to be compensating for 12 months. And what I mean by that is, if you've got no left knee for 12 months, your right knee and your right side of your body is doing double the work. And when your left knee comes back, your right knee and everything else will go, fucking hell, what's going on here? And you'll start picking up what they call secondary injuries. That's even if you think Malacia is good enough, by the way. Some people don't. So Malacia, I would just not be counting on if I was Ineos. I'd be saying that's a bonus. If at some point this season he comes back, stays fit and plays well, great. We can loan him out or whatever. But I would not be in any way, shape or form counting on Malacia. On Luke Shaw, very, very good player, but can he stay fit? So, look, I don't want to buy bench players. We've said this so many times. I don't want to buy bench players. I want to buy first teamers. This is why I would sell Scott McTominay. This is why I would get rid of Christian Eriksen and bring in as many first team midfielders as I can, whether that's through promotion of younger players or purchases. You want to have a squad where everybody's a starter. And I would bring in the best left back we can afford. And the way to do that is to start offloading some players as well, because we are at a point now where we need to start getting some money in. We've made one signing, we've got others lined up, but we need to start getting some money in. And I like the idea of Gutierrez. I think if you bring him in, no one's going to go, well, let's see how he goes. People are going to be like, he's good enough to start for Manchester United. And look, I don't know what this season's going to be. If somebody said to me, Luke Shaw will be fit from August till May, I'd say, we do need a left back, but just get someone cheap. But part of me thinks we'll do well if Luke Shaw's fit for 50%. And if we haven't got a left back, then we're going to be there at Christmas going, we haven't had a left back all season. That's why we're losing goals down the right-hand side. So solve the problem now that we know is there. Solve the problem. And I think the left back situation is very intriguing when Gutierrez is being monitored by Manchester United, according to Fabrizio Romano, and Kirkez looks very difficult. It makes him probably the highest likelihood at the moment, but obviously there's still a bit of work to do on it. Dan Watson says, do you think Yoro is the statement Ineos want? Beating Madrid to a signing would be huge for their PR. Top signings are needed quickly, and now sales too. Well, just where we are on that, Dan, obviously we had the update on Yoro last night, so I don't want to sort of go over old ground like a lot of people who couldn't be asked to do it last night will. But I'm talking about the written press, who were up the arse of England. They'll all be writing about something we did last night. I think with look, Mason Greenwood, Manals has said, can we do a Kirkez versus Gutierrez poll? Yes, we can. Let me see if I can type and talk. I wouldn't have been able to yesterday. That migraine I had. I don't know whether anybody has migraines, but you have the migraine, and then the next day for me is like, can't type, moody. I don't know whether anyone noticed whether I was moody yesterday. You probably didn't because I'm such a professional. But look, yeah, going back to what I've done there, Gutierrez or Kirkez. In relation to today and Yoro, I would definitely be keeping an eye out for Mason Greenwood today. I think it's really very interesting. That deal needs to get sewn up very, very quickly. I also think that with regards to Yoro, we spoke about it last night, and I think there will be a decision made on Yoro. I mean, look, the latest on incomings is that De Ligt, I felt that United yesterday announcing Xerxes at 4 o'clock was clearing the decks for something today. That was my interpretation of it, because why not announce Xerxes at 8 o'clock this morning? It's a Monday, people are on the way to work, more people are on social media, you're going to get more buzz. So, look, I understand that world, and when I look at it and go, Man United announced Xerxes at 4 o'clock on a Sunday when everyone's getting ready for the Euros final, I was like, that's weird. You're not going to get a massive bounce from that, whereas 8 o'clock or 10 o'clock on a Monday morning, you're going to get a big bounce from that. But maybe Man United were thinking, well, if England win the Euros, it's all going to be about that. So, look, my mind works like that because I think about decisions like that and when's a good time to announce something, because for 10 years we've had to try and figure it out. I think that with regards to, Carmine says De Ligt at 4 p.m. today. Look, we might be about to get a here we go today. We might be about to get something because, Ten Hag will be talking to the press after the the game today as well. So we might be about to get that. I certainly think we're going to do some deals this week, whether it's De Ligt, whether it's Yoro, whether it's Agate or whatever. I think things will happen this week. But on Yoro, I still think it's very 50-50. My inclination is just to go with evidence and say that he'll choose Real Madrid because Real Madrid win these battles. But going back to that point about is it important for Ineos to win this to send a message? Well, they want to send as many messages as they can of positivity and intent. And we are somewhat hindered because we've got to be very selective about the deals we do because we need quality and quantity. But we're spending a lot of money on Yoro. I mean, you know, people were talking about the Xerxes wage. What's the wage for Yoro? I mean, that will be a big wage because you're competing with Real Madrid. The transfer fee for Yoro is meant to be about £60 million. When you factor in add-ons, it's £44 million now. So United are chucking a lot of money at this. I think they're right. I mean, some would say, look, we threw a lot of money at Maguire, we threw a lot of money at Sanchez, we threw a lot of money at Sancho, and they all weren't worth the money. But I think with Yoro, when Real Madrid want a player, I would be willing, you know, I wouldn't criticise Ineos if we bought Yoro for 44 and then he flopped and go, wow, what a bunch of prats. I think that PSG, Liverpool have looked at this deal. Real Madrid want this deal. You know, he has the pedigree and projections to be the next Varane, if we're being honest. You know, one of the best centre-backs in the world. So I can understand why United are doing it. And it's a lot of investment. And if you get that deal done, the PR you can do with that is massive. They wouldn't even need to do a lot of PR. I mean, most PR these days, you don't need to pay for it. If you've got the right brand, you don't need to pay for PR. Man United don't need to pay for PR. Like, if Man United get Yoro, there's all hundreds of thousands of you lot who are going to go, hold that, Real Madrid, what a deal. You know, it's free, massive PR. And, you know, the thing about paying for PR is that you've got to be, you're defined by guidelines, whereas your fans aren't. And if Man United sign Yoro, the story will be, whether it's true or not, Man United have stolen Real Madrid's target, who is going to be world class, hold the L Real Madrid. And that will be the story, because we know that will be the story, whether it's from you or me or just social media in general. So it would be a massive statement. And if you lose, what happens? Everyone goes, ha ha, Real Madrid beat you to a player. No shit, Sherlock. No one would have thought that, would they? So I think that, yeah, you know, Yoro, fundamentally, very, 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 very exciting player with the potential and projection to be a world class. If United get him, brilliant. Do I think we'll get him? You know, it's a little bit like England winning the Euros. I thought we were going to win it. I had a feeling. Logically, we weren't. We were never going to win it, and we didn't. So I'd probably say with Yoro, I have a feeling we might win it, but logically, I think we won't. I've got a few comments to catch up on here, but I just want to give you an update on the situation. Well, as I said, Mason Greenwood, keep an eye out with that today. Literally, Marseille are expecting Greenwood's decision today. If it is Marseille, here we go. If it's not Marseille, another few days of where else is there for him to go. So keep an eye out for that. On De Ligt, apparently De Ligt's on holiday. So he hasn't waited like Xerxes because the deal wasn't done with Bayern Munich. The latest with De Ligt is that, and I was told this on Friday, was that De Ligt is a little bit... De Ligt's a little bit like... Don't say tit. De Ligt is a little bit like Harry Maguire's deal or Paul Pogba's deal, or... What I mean by that, it's more traditional in the sense that if you remember those deals, they went on for weeks, back and forth, trying... Sancho, Jadon Sancho as well. Personal terms, not a problem. Agent fees, not a problem. Player wants Man United. Yeah, all that's the same as it was with Sancho, as it was with Pogba, as it was with Maguire, and yet it still took 6 weeks. because we were negotiating with Dortmund or Juventus or Leicester. So that is where we are at the moment. The delay is the negotiations with Bayern Munich. And Man United can't speed those up because it won't take 6 weeks. I mean, it took 6 weeks with Maguire and Sancho. It took 2 years with Sancho because Man United are incompetent and clubs took us for a ride. We have a level of competency now and it won't take 6 weeks. But the delay or time is because this is normal. We're actually negotiating with Bayern Munich on a deal that benefits both parties. So how long's a piece of string? I would expect it to be done in the next few days. The sooner the better. The sooner we have a centre-back through the doors, the better. Keel Robinson says, Yoro right now doesn't feel right. 83% of you would go with Gutierrez over Kerkez. Dan Harding says, I'm concerned we aren't hearing more about new midfielders. Don't want to see us losing the midfield every game this season, says Dan. I agree. I mean, I want to talk about midfield in a moment, but I do agree with you on that. Philip says, I reckon we are buying 3 centre-backs and moving Martinez out to left-back, similar to Akanji at City and White at Arsenal. It's an interesting point, Philip. I think you're wrong. I think if you watch Manchester United when Martinez plays, there is absolutely no way he would be moved out of centre-back or into centre midfield or left-back. He is fundamental, more than any other defender we have, to the way that we want to play. Martinez's ability to take the ball centrally from the goalkeeper and play out from the back is absolutely essential. But also, he's the only player that we have that can move from the defence into the midfield with the ball, which is a real asset in getting us further up the pitch. So there's no way Martinez is going to come out of centre-back. Well, I say no way, Philip. I think it's highly unlikely. If Yoro has a ceiling like Kobe Mainoo, bring him in, says John. Well, by all accounts, he does. By Gutierrez, and Shaw can be the left-sided centre-back with Martinez, right centre-back De Ligt and Yoro, left-back Malacia and Gutierrez. We need a right-back if Wan-Bissaka leaves. You see, I like this from Tibor. I like this. I look at Luke Shaw and I look at the demands of playing as a modern fullback and I look at his body and I think injury, 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 injury. I look at the profile of a left-sided centre-back and the running you have to do is not as intense and it's not as big a distance. As a modern fullback, you are sprinting back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. That's your job. And Luke Shaw's very good at it. But if you're a modern centre-back, you're not covering the distances and you're not doing the same amount of sprinting. And Luke Shaw, as a left-sided centre-back, very, very good. So I would like that evolution. I would like that evolution. And I think we could look after Luke Shaw better. Whether we'll do it or not, again, is another matter. Important question to you in the chat. Which left-back, says Tom? Well, Gutierrez for me, and Gutierrez over Kerkez at the moment, Tom, is on the poll. Beyond those two, there will be other left-backs. There'll be left-backs you've not heard of that we're scouting. There are many left-backs in Europe, and there are many good left-backs in Europe, and there may be some left-backs in Europe that cost 15 million quid like Malacia. John says, Capology says Xerxes is on 180 grand a week base. I just don't believe it, John. And Nicholas says it as well. I mean, I just don't believe that. I look, if it's true, fine, it will come out in the wash. But that's never been spoken about, that Xerxes is going to be on 180k a week. It's never been spoken about. And he was on about 20 at Bologna. And I very much doubt AC Milan were offering him that. So I just don't know why Man United would do that. And as I said, Rasmus is on 90. I think he's on 100. But look, I'd be stunned if there's any truth in that. And if he was, then United are prats. No doubt about Shaw's ability, but what about his commitment, says Toad? Well, to be fair to Luke Shaw, as we saw with England yesterday, and we've seen with plenty of ex-players, there is a cult around Manchester United, around England, where it's just like friends reunited. They're obsessed about their little group and their manager, and what they don't realise is that it does nothing for their careers. So, hopefully Luke Shaw can get back to Man United and crack on. Patrick Lynch says managers weren't allowed to replace McTominay, so you use what you have. If the injury crisis was not there last season, would he have started much? Says Patrick. I'd rather take Robinson from Fulham, says Harvey. I like Robinson at Fulham. I do like Robinson at Fulham. I think he's a good player. But again, what would Fulham want for him? Would be my thought process on that. Let's talk about the midfield, because we do need to sort out what's going on with the midfield, and certainly there is a player in Amrabat that is waiting, and it's the 15th of July. It's a common theme for Amrabat to be waiting for Manchester United in a summer transfer window, because this is exactly what happened to him last year. We've also got the Casemiro scenario, where he is going to play today. So Casemiro is going to be playing for Manchester United today, which in a way scares the shit out of me, if I'm being completely honest. And you know why it scares me? Because I know what Preseason does. That book behind me. I'm going to read the Preseason. I wonder if I can find it. I'll find it for a little treat towards the end of the thing. I'll read about... No, I'll do it now. But what worries me about Preseason is that you have... Here we go. Joy of Preseason, 65. That Preseason really is when you can get people who really... here we go. In pre-season, the fringe player will be doing everything to impress. They've been like a fly in a jam jar for months, waiting for their chance to be released into the wild. So when they come up against Turkey's reserves fullback, they're utterly fucking ruthless. They don't care if these guys are families. For them, they're just a meme waiting to happen. In recent years, United have had a few youngsters who've looked the bollocks in pre-season. Tahith Chong looked like a superstar in 2019. Zidane Iqbal was immense in 2021, and Jesse Lingard was notorious for turning up to pre-season ripped like Cristiano Ronaldo and playing like Messi on fast play. But perhaps my favourite pre-season wonder is Andreas Pereira. In 2005, he was so good, the fans even nicknamed him pre-season Perlo. If he wasn't scoring bangers against the mighty San Jose Earthquakes, he was running through Wigan like a Modium Plus. And this is what worries me about first-team players in pre-season. I'm excited about the youth, and it's interesting to look at the new signings. But if Casemiro plays well against Rosenborg and Rangers this week, people will be saying he's back. There's a very big difference to Casemiro playing well against Rosenborg and Rangers in pre-season, and then opening game of the season against Fulham getting absolutely run past like a statue. So it worries me a little bit. It worries me a little bit because I just know how some people in this fan base work. And if Casemiro looks really good today, which he should do against Rosenborg after a summer off, people will be like, we don't need to sell him. We don't need Ugarte. We've got Casemiro. So, yeah, the midfield is definitely an area I'm concerned about. If you want to pre-order the book, by the way, there's loads of stuff like that. Links in the description, I think, or I'll get the QR code up for you. But, yeah, I think the midfield is an area. Look, massive positivity around Manchester United at the moment. There is so much to be excited about. There is so much to be, enthusiastic about when you think about the signings that we're looking to make, the noises that are coming out of the club. But a little bit like I'll believe it when we hold up the shirt, until we've seen the revolutionising, the rebuild of the defence and the rebuild of the midfield, we still have got centre-backs that are Martinez, Evans, Maguire and Lindelof. If the season starts tomorrow, they're our four centre-backs. And if the season starts tomorrow, our midfield is Casemiro, McTominay, Mainu, Eriksen, Mount and Bruno. So we still have got work to do. And until that work's done, we have no evidence to say it will get done because we've never worked with Ineos before. So I look at that midfield and I go, yes, we do need midfielders. But Casemiro is still here. McTominay is still here. Eriksen is still here. And, we talk about PR of getting Yoro ahead of Madrid. There's also PR that can be quite damaging when oh, we don't need a midfielder because Casemiro's been tearing it up in pre-season against Rosenborg and Rangers. He's just dominated Liverpool on the US tour. Oh, we're definitely going to win the league. So we need to make changes in that midfield. I believe the movement around centre-backs will lead to 2 centre-backs being signed, because if we don't sign 2 centre-backs on September the 1st, we know we were trying to sign 2 centre-backs. So we go into the season saying, well, Ineos didn't deliver because we wanted 2 centre-backs and we didn't buy 2 centre-backs. They didn't deliver. It'll be the same as last year where we wanted Kim Min-jae and we delivered Johnny Evans. So we know with the centre-back situation that if we don't buy 2, we didn't deliver. That doesn't mean it's a bad thing. You know, there might be numerous reasons why you don't buy 2, but we want 2. With midfield, we haven't actually moved on anybody yet. We know that we're interested in Agate, but it is there to be done. I hope that with Agate, we can move quickly, because if he goes on holiday and they're like, and what do I have to think about it while I'm on holiday, we're pushing it back, aren't we? Camboire is official, by the way. That's come through. Yeah, well, I think we'll just do a little section on the morning show, because we definitely ain't doing a here we go for Camboire. But look, there's a buyback clause for Camboire, and you know, it's profit, isn't it? I can't remember how much it was. If anyone can let me know in the chat, but you know, I hope there's not too many deals like that. They remind me of James Garner, but Camboire wanted to go because he wanted to play first team football, so you can't argue with that. Nemo, welcome. Thanks for being a member for 6 months. J Dead says, any word on Dani Olmo? Look, I'll give you a few words on Dani Olmo. Very, very good in the Euros, but don't scout people on the Euros. It's as simple as that. I mean, look, he's a good player, and he's been a good player for a while, and I think he's ready to make his move. And he might, look, I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up going to somewhere like Man City and tore up the Premier League, because he looks very, very, very good. But I'm also very, very, very wary of scouting players and international football. And you know, he's been a good player for years. He's been linked to United for about 5 years. I remember doing videos on him 5 years ago. So, but I don't think. I will say this: the Dani Olmo transfer will not happen, because his release clause is 50, and we won't be able to pay a £55 million release clause. Sorry, 55. We won't be able to pay 55 million. For him, because we won't be able to pay the release clause, so we'd have to go a little bit higher like we did with Xerxes, and that would just eat up too much of our budget. So we won't be going for Olmo. I think if we're going to bring in anybody in an attacking midfield area, it will be Simons from PSG. I don't see us going anywhere near that. Most players you mentioned there got sold. Hope Casemiro does too. Pre-season is good to showcase players we want to offload, says Toad. How much is the McTominay bid? Apologies if behind, says Kieran. Well, we're talking about news from Turkey that Galatasaray are working on the bid with Manchester United. So there's not been any mention of what that bid would be. We did talk about what we think would be a good bid. Personally, I think £25 million for McTominay is a good deal. But apparently Man United want 40, which is what has put off some Premier League clubs. I mean, I don't understand why he's £40 million, but apparently that's what happened last year as well. Morning, Mark, says James. Thrilled we're focusing on the foundation of the team in defence and midfield. I'd be happy with Agate, but I'd love Zubimendi. I mean, look, again, Zubimendi's a player that you'd look at based on what he's done from Spain in La Liga, not what he did in the second half yesterday. I mean, playing well against England would mean that you're going to buy off the Slovakian team as well. Dan, we spoke about what you said. Phil, we spoke about that as well. And we've also spoke about that too. What haven't I talked about this morning? Yeah, of course, it's game day today. So we've got very, very exciting... well, I'm very, very excited, actually. It's the perfect antidote to last night's shit show from England is to get back on the horse, isn't it? And that horse tonight or this afternoon will be Manchester United against Rosenborg at 5 o'clock, which is very, very, very interesting. I mean, my big thing is that I would love to see. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the younger players. I mean, look, as I said, Casemiro and Rashford tearing it up against Rosenborg. They had bad seasons last year. It's going to take more than that for those two to make me get excited. I mean, I hope they play well. I actually hope we sell Casemiro, if I'm being honest. But, from Rashford's point of view, we want him to have a good season. But the real pre-season thing for me is the younger players. And, I think there's numerous players that spring to mind. And the great thing about a young player is that we haven't seen them since May. They have their holiday in June. They come back for pre-season, and players can just blow up over the summer. Young players, like physically, they're growing all the time. So when you think about someone like Wheatley, he might be very different to what he was like at the end, 2 months ago. Collier is obviously a player to keep an eye on as well. Very excited to see what he can do. But it's good. It's nice. Look, I do like pre-season. Always have done, and I think that it's a momentum towards the start of the real season. I'm not going to underestimate or play down the importance of that first game of the season against Fulham. We've got to win against Fulham, and if we don't, then there are a lot of people out there that, I mean, as I said yesterday, I don't know whether you've watched the reaction to the Xerxes news yesterday, but I couldn't believe the negativity. So there's a lot of people that are out there. Bartin Toys says, Super Chats. Mate, please don't. I've been doing this for 10 years. It's a news show, and every Super Chat gets read out. So stop being impatient. They'll get read out when I've finished talking about the thing that I'm talking about, right? Stop saying read Super Chats. Like, they all get read. None of them don't get read on the United Stand. So chill out, calm down, and let me finish what I was talking about. The Fulham game, yeah, we know. And as I said, with that Xerxes video yesterday, the amount of negative comments in there, and it can't all be rival fans. So I think that there's a lot to be positive about, but there are still an undercurrent of people, some of them in the media, waiting to jump in. And you sort of saw it yesterday with England as well. There was people who were almost, faking hope, and then boom, when it all goes wrong. But so we will have that. Greg says, I'm going to Murrayfield for Man United versus Rangers on Saturday. And Banther Toys, this is why he wants us to read the super chat. Says Scott's dad has just used his holidays to go on a business holiday. Smiled and said he couldn't say where. Defo Turkey. Oh yeah, we'll agree with, yeah. There you go. The best sauce we've ever had, up there with tomato. I mean, how are we meant to substantiate that, mate? I mean, look, if you want to throw in, I've got no idea. I've got no idea. What I will say, Banther Toys, is absolutely no way Scott McTominay will go and play in Turkey. Absolutely no way he will go and play in Turkey. I don't think he wants to go and play in London. I don't think he wants to go and play for Everton. He ain't never going to go and move to Turkey and play football there. No way. I'd be stunned. I would be stunned if he did that. Not that he shouldn't go and do that. I mean, there used to be Graham Souness, I've played the game. He managed Turkey. But, God, if I see another chat saying that Capology website says Xerxes on 180k a week, I mean, it's like fucking UK Gold. How many times do people want to repeat it? And I tell you what, a Capology sponsoring this stream? No. Who gives a shit what Capology says? Are they 100% right? Until somebody like Simon Stone or David Ornstein or Fabrizio Romano says that the wages that Xerxes on is 180k a week, I'm gonna assume It's what was always reported, which is 100k a week. There's no point getting your knickers in a twist about something that's not confirmed. Okay, and can we sell Maguire and Lindelof, put Shaw at centre back, and buy Gutierrez and keep Malacia as backup? Ryan, can we sell Maguire and Lindelof, put Shaw at centre back, and buy Gutierrez? I think we've spoken about that, Ryan. I mean, look, I think the future of Luke Shaw would be best served as a left-sided centre back, but you know. I don't know what we're going to do at left back. 82% of you would go with Gutierrez. McFred could be reunited in Turkey, says Paddy. Isaac says, Mark, are you a bit moody today? No, I'm not. I'm actually for 45 minutes. I've been absolutely fine. And then it's not moodiness. It's I do this every single day for hours. We've got a great community, but I'm not a bloody bouncing board for stupidity. Like if people start throwing in things and they don't listen, I've got every right to respond to them. If you think that's rude, you've got every right not to listen. You don't have to watch. It's free content. We're not Sky. We're not charging you a subscription fee. Thoughts on Camboila move, Mark, says Juzzo. I think he's been told that he will not be playing very often, so he wants to go and play first team. I've got no problem with people knocking on the door and saying, will I play much? No, I want to go. I think Lindelof will do this. I think Eriksen will do this. I think Wan-Bissaka will do this. I think Maguire and McTominay should do this. And I think Camboila has done this. I've got no problem with that. I do think it's a bit sad because I felt that there was some potential there, but if he's not going to play, he's got to go. So I understand it. I do understand it. Yeah. Okay. Right. Well, let me tell you what's happening today. I'm trying to figure this out myself. So we've got a countdown to kick off for you before the 5 o'clock watch along, which I'm doing. So we've got a countdown to kick off in the studio. Get ready for that. I think we've got a 2 o'clock show as normal as well. The match is 5 till 7, so we should still have an 8 o'clock show as well. Will we do a match reaction? I don't know. We'll have to sort of figure that one out. But it's hard to do match reactions in pre-season games. It is. Faisal says, Mark, I drank your tears yesterday. It tasted good. Oh, I've just realised the whole moodiness stuff and everything like that because England lost. You don't know me very well, do you? I can't be defeated by people trying to wind me up about England or Manchester United losing. And you clearly don't watch the show if you think you can. I can't be defeated on that. You can't wind me up about it because England were shit and Spain deserved to win and Southgate should be sacked. So just the same as when Man United used to lose under, Ollie or anything like that, I'll be the first ones to say we were shit. So you can't wind me up about it because I'd actually have to disagree with you to get wound up. We deserve to lose. Southgate's shit. And if they keep him for the next 2 years, I won't be supporting England anyway. I'll be done with England. I'm not wasting another 2 years on that shit. Wasted time. So hopefully he'll fuck off and then we can get a proper manager in who can actually get us to can coach us properly. Thanks everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed the little excerpt from the book. I will read some more of those out over the next few weeks. But if you want to pre-order it, the link is next to me or in the video description. You can scan the QR code. Don't forget to enter the competition if you pre-order the book. Win yourself an evening in the Goldbridge Arms. It'll be very, very good. Take care, everybody. Match day today. Very excited to watch some of the players that will be involved in that game as well. Really want to see some of them kicking off the season well. It would be good to see. I know you can't read too much into pre-season, but it'd be good to see Mason Mount do well and Rashford score a couple of goals, etc. So let's see what happens in that. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Absolute legends. 82% of you would rather get Gutierrez than Kirkez. I'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.